There's also politics raging in the background. So we've had our focused discussion on the takeaways from this meeting, but even before the talks could begin, the Congress party and others in the related ecosystem began to fire barbs at Prime Minister Modi. The Congress fired a list of 6 questions. The Congress sought to suggest that the NDA needed to come clean, as thus far Modi's approach could be described as DDLJ. And DDLJ, viewers, is also an acronym for a famous movie. But in this case, the Congress said DDLJ stands for deny, distract, lie and justify. So they're accusing the Prime Minister of first being in denial about what perhaps has been actually attained. Then he's talking about distracting from the issue at hand and lying to the Indian public and then justifying all these things. So let's open this up, and I want to bring in a sympathizer of the Congress, Tehseen Poonawala, and of course Dr. Ranganathan is there also with us. Mr. Poonawala, very quickly, and I just want to be direct here because I'm not going to beat around the bush. I know that Rahul Gandhi wants to tell India that this meeting is not significant at all, even though we've just heard 2 very seasoned experts say that this is a step in the right direction. Yes, things have to fructify, and we still have certain blanks left, perhaps because no one wants to sort of hold anybody to anything. Maybe that's the reason, not raise expectations too much. But Rahul Gandhi has always said that Modi is failing the test of diplomacy and foreign policy because he cannot settle the China issue. Now he's done it, and the Congress has a problem. So damned if he does, damned if he doesn't.
Rahul, good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Rahul, good evening. Rahul, good evening. Thank you so much for having me on the show at the onset. Once again, bow down before Colonel Santosh Babu and the rest of the 20 martyrs who laid down their life defending the Galwan Valley. And look, there are pertinent questions that need to be raised, and Rahul Gandhi ji is correct on these steps. Now, I'm just quoting you, Rahul. Step in the right direction, fructify, we don't want to raise expectations. If all these adjectives are being used by you, Rahul, today on this show, why did the Honorable Prime Minister lie to you, Rahul, to you, when he said, na koi aaya tha, na koi aa saka? If koi nahi aaya tha, koi aa nahi saka tha, so then why are we going, how are we going back to pre-2020 as has been said by our Honorable External Affairs Minister? That's point number 1. That means somebody had come in. That is when Colonel Santosh Babu and 20 other martyrs lost their life defending our motherland. No. Let's come to the second more important point. Yeah. We now know that the Chinese, for example, the bottleneck junction at Depsang near the Radi Nala Valley, from where India used to patrol, was blocked by armored vehicles. It was blocked. Let me give you another example of Pangong Tso, where we used to patrol up to Finger 8, and I've repeatedly raised this with you. Are we, specific question, going to patrol up to Finger 8, which is our territory? Are we going to enter, cross the bottleneck area, across the Radi Nala Valley, which is our area, or we are not going to do that? Now, the third thing that's come out, which nobody is speaking about, this agreement's not been made public, it's not been given to journalists, it's not been given to the opposition while we are a democracy, but what's been told very clearly is, listen, only 14 Indian soldiers can go in our own territory, that too twice a month. Only 14 Indian soldiers, patrol of 14, that too twice a month. Okay. Why isn't the government clarifying on this? Okay. Lastly, if we've gone to the pre-2020 level, if we've gone to the pre-2020 level, that is not being said by China. The Chinese statement, and I read it thrice, does not say we've gone back to the pre-2020 level, which means the gains we had in Kailash Heights have completely been squandered. These are very important questions that the government is refusing to answer. Okay, okay.
First things first, let me tell you, viewers, that that line is not defined. So the Chinese would also come into, to Finger 4 of the Pangong Tso, and we would go up to 8. Suddenly, the Chinese decided that they were going to block us. This is what is known as a kind of no man's land, because it's not been defined. Whether our claim extends to 8 and their claim extends to 4. So imagine, viewers, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we could go up to here, they could come up till here. Now somehow in the middle, viewers, this is a buffer. Somehow we have a problem. where we weren't allowed
No,
to
Rahul,
go
may I
to
ask
8.
you a question on
We
that?
weren't
Just
allowed to.
quickly,
One second.
may I
We weren't
quickly
allowed.
ask
So
you a
just a
question?
minute. Just a minute. Sir, you've spoken. I want to bring in Dr. Rangana. I'm just putting it out
Okay.
there for viewers
Sure.
to understand because
No, I
it's
just
not
want to
easy
ask you
to
one question
understand
on that,
finger
so you
one,
can add
finger
it. Just
four.
one
No,
question.
One second. Dr. Ranganathan, look, I think the prime focus of the Congress is that the Prime Minister said no one came in and we haven't lost anything. That's fundamentally their problem. And I don't think they are being very honest with the facts on the ground.
Honest about this. The same Rahul Gandhi and his advisors then were reiterating the fact that the McMahon line and the LAC, unlike the LOC, remains undefined at most places and is, quote, categorized under differing perception, unquote. Even the status quo, they said, is disputed by both sides. So these transgressions, they said, are historical in nature. But the moment 2014 comes and Modi comes to think, suddenly everything erupts. The same Rahul thought nothing of Chinese transgressions before 2014 during Congress rule. Let me remind him what his advisor said, and I quote, the India-China border is not yet defined. And so when the Chinese make incursions, it only means that they haven't entered our territory, unquote. But when Modi comes, suddenly Chinese start entering our territory. The same Rahul was tight-lipped when China occupied 640 square kilometers of eastern Ladakh during the UPA. A fact reiterated not by you or me, Sanghis, but by UPA's own foreign secretary. And who knows, perhaps calling for the breakup of Ladakh was an obligation on part of the Congress in that MOU that is signed with the Communist Party of India, of China, I beg your pardon, back in 2008. The same Rahul was tight-lipped when China managed to make 600 incursions into the Indian side between 2000 and 2013, including in 2013 when the Chinese entered 28 kilometers deep into our territory at Depsang, including on June 17, 2013, when Chinese transgressed deep into Chumar. The fact of the matter is that including even on Galwan, the very same Galwan that Modi was accused of losing to China, the same Galwan was under Chinese occupation before 2014 as quote. Since the 1962 war, China has extended its control over the entire Galwan River, unquote. Now, what can you say? The moment Modi comes to power, everything changes. Rahul Gandhi forgets what China-India equations were before 2014. What can you reply to this, Rahul?
Okay, there are now 2 points of view, viewers. One from
please
Mr.
reply?
Tehseen Poonawalla and one
reply?
from Dr. Ranganathan. I'm leaving it at this, viewers, because we have 2 views and, you know, all of us can keep going back and forth. There'll be no resolution.